we make a great team because I sing.
And I play guitar.
And
you cook and I eat.
And you eat.
My education was a technical education, electrician, and my first job was mostly in the fishing harbor and the North Sea Canal in Holland.
We were raised on a big farm, a whole bunch of us, 7 kids, hired man. Lots of food had to be cooked, lots had to be grown. I think we made our own ice cream too.
Mom sent me to music lessons when I was 7 years old or 8 years old. I was getting tired of it, so after about 2 years I said to Mom, I don't want to do music school anymore. Maybe I'll join gymnastics. But then I fell out of the rings one day and busted my head open, so I decided not to do that anymore.
I wasn't crazy about getting my hands really dirty and digging all the potatoes, but we all had a chance to choose our preference. And my preference was to be in the kitchen, and it always was. First of all, when my aunt was visiting and she liked to cook fun things, Aunt Elaine, I always wanted to be there, and I always wanted to kind of know what she was doing and why. And I was just a little kid. Like, she put me on a stool as 5, 6 years old. She said it was a pain, but she let me be. To this day, we chat about food all the time.
I rediscovered music. Why? Because the Boy Scouts used to have campfires. It renewed my interest in the guitar. So then my cousin phoned me up or talked to me one day, because we didn't have a phone yet. I said, if you take lessons and you learn the chords and you show me, then I don't have to go and pay for lessons. We're in Holland. We get the English rock and roll before we heard the American rock. There was no MTV yet. 1 hour a week they had popular music on the radio. My cousin and I used to lay in front of this radio waiting for the Shadows to come on, playing Apache. We had to learn that song, so we learned it and we started playing it. We started our first band called the Rocking Boys.
I was always about good food and health and well-being and being fit. So I went to the University of Saskatchewan Hospital, and I got lucky and met up with a Dr. Merriman. He liked me, liked what I was doing, and then he helped get me schooled as a cardiology technician. But I was busy raising kids and cows. At one point I was out in the barn shoveling stalls and using the fork as my microphone and singing Patsy Cline to my heart's content when I heard somebody applauding at the barn door. And he said, "Hey lady, didn't somebody tell you you could sing?" And I said, "No." And he said, "We got a talent search. We'd like to know if you'd like to come." I just thought, this is something I need to do. I love to sing. I've always loved to sing. I had to go to Edmonton, and then I was in it full bore. I had to do a warm-up show for Tanya Tucker. At that time, that was quite something.
I fell fast. My heart fell hard, spiraling down, 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 free falling, free falling. It was dark. I was scared.
To have an electric guitar. She says, "Well, save up your money," and I ended up buying my first pickup that you mount in the sound hole. But then I needed an amplifier. But my dad had this big old radio, one of these big old things, and it had a record player input, which is the same as a guitar input. So I plugged the guitar in, and what do you know? I had an electric guitar and an amplifier. So I dragged my dad's old radio to the gig with the boys. We're practicing in this basement of this bakery. My brother, he was in the army, and he took electronics, and he is actually the one that started me on electronics. So this is where I do my electronic work. I build amplifiers. Started in electronics when I was a young man, about 11, 12 years old, with an old radio that I took apart with my brother's help and built the first guitar amplifier I ever owned. I built primarily tube amplifiers, which is an old technology out of the 40s, 50s, 60s, because they are the best sounding guitar amps. I draw up the circuits first, and then when I have that together, I get the chassis, but I have to drill all the holes in it, mount all the parts, and wire up the tube sockets.
We got found out because of one of my recordings from the Royalty Records. He heard about us being in Europe.
That we were in Europe, got the ball rolling, and then one thing led to another. We got involved with him.
And suddenly we were playing big festivals. There's just a sea of people. I've never played in front of an audience like that, and they were all applauding and being crazy, and I thought, who lied to you people? Because if they told you I was a star, they lied. Lady stood up in the audience and she said, "Well, you're a star for us, you're here." Jack was sitting on the steel guitar, and I turned to him and I just said, "I ain't going home. I'm home. This is it."
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. When I came back, I said, okay, then I want to go to culinary school. And I just thought, I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to do it right, because I had such an advantage. When I was in culinary school, they even said, there's only a few people who will make caterers. It takes a certain kind of person. The work is intense, and then we would have 2 vans full of stuff, because one was about all the cooking, and the other one was about all the music. We were doing gigs just before the whole COVID thing. We were playing in Hawaii. Well, that whole thing of the music gigs has slowed right down. Jack built me this beautiful little kitchen, and I just thought, well, I got to do something with it. So we called it Sammy's Cottage Kitchen, and I started filming with Access Now.
We were in a tiki bar restaurant one day. I heard the steel guitar music, Hawaiian steel guitar, which is different than country steel guitar. Being really interested, I asked the guy, said, do you give any lessons? He says, well, no. He says, I work at the fish market. I don't have time for lessons. Anyway, I built the first steel guitar and I took it to Hawaii. And I said, Bobby, I said, I got a 7-string steel guitar here I'd like you to see. He opened up the case, he looked at it, he says, oh my God, he says, that's beautiful. He says, can I play it? Bobby's got 2 steel guitars of mine right now, and he just ordered a 3rd one that I'm building. It's in the shop. This is going to our friend Bobby Engano in Hawaii, long scale Hawaiian steel guitar. It's got a beautiful grain, it's made out of maple wood. My brother-in-law is the painter, he's got a paint shop. That one we gotta take to Hawaii. This one is being shipped to Toronto. I'll show you some of the finished guitars I have. Here's one that's completely finished, made out of walnut with the ebony fingerboard. 7-string, long scale. It's a beautiful guitar. So that's basically what I do. And I'm retired, so I need something to do. I can't just sit still and do nothing. So I built this little shop, and this is where I hide out spend my time every day. You wake up in the morning and you question, am I still on this planet or am I pushing up daisies? Well, as long as I'm not pushing up daisies, I guess I'm still okay.